All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Strategic Success Podcast. We have a little fun one today. We're back here in Steve's office here in New Orleans. Today's going to be fun because Steve's actually going to interview me today. For those of you guys know, we've done plenty of episodes together. This is Aussie Steve with Homebuyer Louisiana. And yeah, this one will be fun.
Absolutely. Thanks. I'm glad to be able to ask a few questions on your show, which is awesome.
Yeah. So usually it's either we're having a conversation or I'm interviewing you. So, but recently I just did a podcast with someone that you and I mutually respect.
Yes.
So let's talk about who he is, and then because that podcast was all about New Orleans and kind of overview of the shit show that's going on right now in New Orleans. So let's talk about what podcast was that?
So yeah, I mean, I wanted to ask you how you got in it because Michael Zuber, One Rental at a Time fame, is actually one of my favorite people to follow. Actually, just he does a daily news and does a lot of content. He's real, authentic, one rental at a time, simple message. So I like him and respect him, and he wanted to have you on to talk about New Orleans. So like,
Yeah.
give him a hint. Like, what you tell him? It was positive, right?
Yeah, it was good. If you want to make sure this guy, there you go, you're good.
Okay.
So Zuber, Michael Zuber, One Run on Time. I really like him too. He's one of the few podcasts I listen to, consecutively, right? And he puts out a ton of content, right? Like daily. And so if I miss a little bit, I got to binge listen
Yep.
so to catch up. But I see him as a real estate investor who's also an economist, right?
Yep.
So I highly respect him, and I had wanted to get on his show. I don't see myself as an economist. I respect the talk around economics and macros, like whether it's micro or macro. And he had put out he had an episode called 96 Markets, or the worst 96 markets in America, or something like that, with Lance Lambert, who's someone else that you and I mutually respect.
Love Lamps, Resi Club.
Yeah, and Lance is great. He's really just a data guy, right? And so they were doing that episode on the 96 markets, and they're like, what is going on with New Orleans? Why is it such an outlier? Why has it been basically so bad? They didn't understand it. So they put out a call. They said, if anyone is in New Orleans who can kind of give, some color to this, reach out. So I reached out to Michael. We have a lot of mutual friends, and he invited me on a show. And it actually just dropped a day or two ago. So two things. Number one, let's talk about the state. You and I talk about some of the stuff that Michael and I talked about and kind of the state of New Orleans. And then we're going to talk about the big announcement that I dropped. I dropped a bomb on the show. But
You did.
So
Stay tuned. Look, I'm podcasting now. Stay tuned. Let's stay to the end.
yes, because this is what you guys are going to want to hear. But let's talk about it, New Orleans. So basically, the main thing that him and I talked about was, because for the longest time I called it that why is everything so rough in New Orleans? And I said, basically, I used to think it was a perfect storm of like all these things happening, but now I'm like, it's a death by 1,000 cuts is really how I saw it. What did you think of that assessment?
I thought the analogy is actually really good. I think it does make sense. Death by 1,000 cuts. There's a lot of things that have happened, from just zoning and dealing with the city council for permitting.
I mean, they're getting investigated right now. The permit office. There's like so many things we can go on with, like, the insurance crisis, property taxes, infrastructure issues, utility issues as far as like the charges.
Yeah.
Someone was like, wait, you have sewage and water board on auto pay? And they're like, that's risky.
Yes.
You get like a $10,000 charge 1 month. But, stuff like that. Obviously, crime. We've had the Airbnb regulation. We also had the landlord registry.
Yep. Healthy homes. Yep.
Stuff like that, going on, and population decline.
Yeah.
Basically the insurance crisis has been huge factor, but there's like so many other things we could talk about too.
We're heavily affected by COVID. There were lots of death. The population decline. Which I thought was mainly like flight. Like the NOMA and those economic symposiums they were showing, there's actually a lot of death. A lot of death there was a lot of shootings back then too, but I think it was more COVID and old people, and
Yeah.
we got hit hard.
Well, and then, I mean, the mayor was, she did like California level like restrictions during COVID, and it caused, I mean, we're having a lot of businesses shut down.
Businesses, yeah, still feel the restaurants. I mean, big tourism and
yeah.
the restaurants, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of
1,000 cuts is
gloomy.
good. 1,000 cuts, I think, is good. But so tell me, like, are we stuck there? Like, what do you think about that?
You know, they had that article come out not that long ago, and I think you might have shared it too, that said New Orleans is the hardest market to do real estate in.
Yeah, toughest, yep.
Or the toughest, yeah.
Michigan, I think it was a Michigan University or something, yes.
Yeah, it was some sort of
NOLA.com
research.
picked it up, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know, for a long time I've had a hard time justifying New Orleans, right? Like, because it just feels like it's trending down. So are we stuck there? My hope is, number one, the mayor race, my hope is that can do a change of leadership. So a huge part of this is leadership.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a governor change. We had that recently.
Yeah.
And so politics aside, change of leadership can help because that, you know, regardless of what side you sit on out, a change of, like, just a change of guard can give us a change of path, right? And I mean, when they're being made very well aware that the ship is going in the wrong direction. You know, like the population decline, you know, the businesses that are leaving, like, you know, stuff like that. And so my hope is, you know, stuff like that will help. And then also you and I, just before we pressed record, we were talking about the data. Like in economics, there's like this theory that the first in is usually the first out. And New Orleans was really one of the very first cities that was heavily into basically the bad number territory, right? Like in a lot of factors, right? And we were looking at some of the economic data that, like, you know, New Orleans is actually where everywhere else is starting to show worse data, we're starting to show better data, and we're the only one. And so when they were asking why were they showing New Orleans showing such bad data for so long, maybe there's this level of we were the first in, maybe we can be the first out, or, you know, something along those lines.
Amen. Yeah, I really, really agree with this. So, you know, 1,000 cuts, I think, was a good analogy. You know, I'll build on that and say, like, when you're walking barefoot through, you know, through land, 1,000 cuts make your feet really bad and cut up, but you develop calluses and you get strong and you get better. And so I think that we've had a lot of the cuts, but the calluses are there and we're improving. The data that Lance Lambert shared recently, I think, was the most telling for me. So he shared the year-over-year changes in property values from 2003 to 2024.
2023 to 2024.
2024, and then he did it side by side with 24, 25, and he was illustrating how much worse the market got this year, right? So he was illustrating how, like, the whole it was a national picture, right? And it had all the stuff, and he was saying how much worse the market got. What was interesting, and I think tells the facts the most, is that in that 2023-24, New Orleans declined 6%, and it was the worst of all the people. It was the worst city.
I mean, compared to the Floridas that are getting hit really hard, you know, different parts all over.
So it was the number one declining one. And then if you go to 2024 to 25, every single city got worse except for New Orleans. It went from -6 to -1.2. Okay, so yes, -1.2. It's negative. It's not exciting.
But it's less bad.
It's the only city that changed. So for me, that's the signal that I'm feeling that, like, it's been bad, but it can only really get worse. Just like, I mean, I don't think this is even controversial. I don't know what politics you're on, but, like, I don't think our mayor can get any worse. Right? So I don't care who you elect. I don't care who you're going for. Like, it just cannot be worse, right? But I also feel like our market's a bit like that. Like, it can't get worse. You spoke to Michael Zuber about this. We had like 200%, 300% increase in insurance. Crazy, right? And I'm not saying that those increases aren't going to disappear, right? But I can tell you pretty certainly, there's no way they're going up another 200% from this base. Like,
so let's if they went another 200, 300%, it would be catastrophic to the system. that I would like. There would have to be some bailout.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've stopped foreclosures for over a decade. I'm seeing what it's doing. So I agree with you. Like it can't do that major jump again because something major will break.
Yeah.
In the system, and so
It's just like it's priced that we had like I think it's peak bad. You know what I mean? Like it might stay the same, might go up a little bit, might go down a little bit. Like but it's not going to shock. With the shock, we're living through the shock. You've lived through the shock, right? Anyone who's owning properties right now, it's been painful. Like guys, it's been painful.
Right.
But now's not the time to panic actually because I think it's getting better. And New Orleans isn't Detroit, right? So with Detroit, when all the obviously
and Detroit is an example of a city that basically got wiped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, and it's come back now, but like it's not. It was a long time. So like Detroit was a sinking ship, right? New Orleans is not a sinking ship. It may feel like that sometimes, and maybe it's a sinking city below sea level, but like, but it's not a sinking ship. It does. I mean, the ports. I mean, the port system is just a very big, important part for for goods. We've got the Lit port coming in Saint Bernard. So like
I mean, we got LNG down.
LNG they're doubled and they're doubling it again. Like it's crazy. Like that is of such a big infrastructure. Hyundai is investing $5.6 billion in Ascension Parish, and that's bringing 1,400 jobs. They're building the shipbuilding up north in Louisiana is also starting to build spaceships that launch out of the water. There's like a lot of investment happening. With the tourism, tourism is up and down, but we have it. We don't just have tourism like people traveling. We have the convention. So I don't know if people appreciate like the convention center. It's like not just it's like business travel. We get that. It's locked in. We just had the UFC here, and I think that's part of the governor. The governor's being very business friendly. He's trying to court people.
I mean, the Super Bowl was huge.
Super Bowl was huge.
And
Taylor Swift is huge.
Yeah,
UFC could be a repeat. Like we're not. It's because so much culture, so much New Orleans is not going down. It's got to stop at some point. I think we're stopped, and the opportunity I'm seeing is that it was really bad for us, and it was hard, right? Because we knew that as real estate people, we knew the market. We knew what was going on. Like it was tough, right?
Yeah.
But when you're trying to negotiate with sellers, they didn't see what we saw, and so it was really hard.
Because sellers. They basically, someone once said that sellers are 6 months behind.
Yeah.
Because, it takes 6 months of data for them to eventually start seeing, prices are going down.
Yeah, exactly. They're behind, and it really depends what the media is saying. It doesn't matter what's happening. It depends what the national.
It's not like they're looking at the data, but it's like that data then has to get mainstream.
And to be mainstream, it needs to be national, right? Even the logo, so it's got to be a national story. And we had the trouble before it was a national story. So the opportunity is that Lance Lambert thing. I said how how much worse it got from last year to this year, but New Orleans actually improved. The national narrative and story is shifting to how bad the market is, and the market is bad, right? But the reverse of what I was saying, when it was bad and everyone thought it was good, it might actually very soon be good when everyone thinks it's bad. And if you're an investor like us and like a lot of the people that I'm sure watch your channel, if you're looking for opportunity and distress, this is your time. Everyone thought the market was great in 2021, 2022. You're wrong. The market sucked in 22, right? It was good if you had a house you were selling, cool. But if you were buying in those times, you had to waive contingencies, you were overpaying. It felt good because mentally, everyone was talking about how good real estate was. So you felt good when you bought that property. But all those people that felt good winning a property in 2022 are the ones who are hurting now, right? So it was actually, when it feels like the best time to buy is often the worst time to buy. But the reverse is when it feels like the worst time to buy is often the best time to buy if you've got a medium to longer term outlook. And right now, it feels really bad. People are running from New Orleans. They're running. They're not buying. If you're a savvy investor, that's the time to buy. That's the time to... Michael Zuber, I'll quote him and what he always says, make disrespectful offers. Now's the time to make disrespectful offers, do deals.
Well, and he's also talked about how 2025 is the year of the investor. Right? Who's going to win in 2025? Not real estate agents, not lenders, not title companies, not, who's going to win? Real estate investors.
Yeah.
And that could be true for you if you take action, right? And so I'm right there with you. I think there's prime opportunity right now.
So speaking of prime and primaries, like, talk to me about this bombshell that you dropped.
So
You're fleeing New Orleans. Are you fleeing New Orleans? What's going on? Tell
So
us what's
there's
going on.
rumors on the street. So on the Michael Zuber episode, I dropped a bomb that I'm actually moving. So I actually stopped. I stopped what I was doing at my house and I came here to come film this episode because I didn't know how soon Zuber would put that out, and he put it out a lot faster than I thought he would. And so I was like, shit, we have to come film this so we can put this out, because I didn't want you guys to just hear it on there and then, not get to hear some of the backdrop. But I have movers coming to my house in 2 days from now. And this week, I am moving my primary to St. Petersburg, Florida. And now you and I are close friends. You've known about this for a while. I've been considering this for years. But we're just now making it a reality that come August 1st, I will have a new home base.
Okay. So it's a home base. So you're very specific in saying your primary. Are you moving your business? Talk to me about that.
So good question. I am still going to be doing business here. Like, there's absolutely no doubt about it. I was walking houses yesterday, the day before yesterday, to make offers. And so, and I have I've got a handful of leads on my desk right now that I'm working. Ask me how I'm doing in the middle of a move. Don't ask me. It's chaotic. But so absolutely am still doing business here. The most common question I'm asking is, am I starting a new business there? I've never bought in Florida. There was a period of time when I was working some joint ventures with friends who were doing deals with hedge funds, so selling packages of houses to hedge funds. The end of 2022, because I have traveled to St. Petersburg in the greater Tampa Bay area for over 5 years now, to spend a lot of time with my mentors over there. I worked 3 different house packages over there, but that was right when we were working those deals right when the hedge funds were getting out of buying. And so those didn't end up closing. Taught me a lot about the market, though, over there, more than just going there and visiting.
Yeah.
So I am looking at the bare minimum buying a primary over there.
Okay.
So we're actually renting. We went over there. I used the methods, as a real estate investor. I door knocked. We went and basically drove for dollars.
Yeah.
Found a great house, and I negotiated. We got it below market rent, which is,
Of course you did.
yeah. I was like, we looked on Zillow and stuff like that. I talked to a few agents, but I was like, I know what to do. We just go, let's get a rental car and just spend, driving around the neighborhoods we want to be in. So we'll rent, but if anything, for sure, I'll look to buy a primary there. But I'm not overly trying to be aggressive buying over there, because their housing stock is different than here. There's a lot I don't know. But it's also, Florida's on sale right now, so.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I was saying it's smart that you know what you don't know, and because a lot of people don't know that. So that's I'm really glad you said that. But I know you'll start to get in there, and it is on sale. Yeah. It's probably the opposite of whereas New Orleans has been down and coming, Florida's probably going, but it's Florida's such a boom bust market. It's
So to give you an idea, from 2016 to 2019, if a house was worth 100, it would double to 200. And then from 2019 to 2023, it doubled again. So it went from 200 to 400.
Yeah.
So significant increase in value.
Yeah.
And so right now, I was looking at the data. They're down, let's just say, close to 5%. But then I actually saw some data that showed flood zone and flood zone X versus flood zone AE, and so good flood zones and bad flood zones, and the bad flood zones are 20+% drop in values. So it's actually because obviously they got hit by the 2 storms at the end of last year, and so there is. But if you think back, if someone had bought their house, even before 2019, they're still good.
Yeah.
Because of that drastic swing up. Yes, it's down, but number one, if they don't sell, and then 2, they're still up a good bit. So it's very equity rich market.
Yeah.
So it's interesting time. I've already been. I remember I was in a store looking for stuff. One of my last trips there, and I hear someone talking about, their house had been flooded, and I couldn't help myself. I said, I'm from New Orleans. I know a thing or two about floods. I'm sorry to hear about that. And I got talking with them, and I can't stop myself from interfering.
Yeah.
So I do think that there will be
You'll
opportunities.
start buying for sure. Can I riff on that real quick? Because I think that's really interesting, because they talk about this a lot, that there's like boom bust markets and there's more stable markets, which so New Orleans is different in that sense. The boom busts are normally going to build good wealth. Phoenix's, California, you can build a lot of wealth, but you can also lose a lot of wealth too, because whereas markets like ours are just like, they generally don't grow a lot.
There's not a lot of appreciation.
There's not a lot of appreciation, but they go consistently. And like the fact that we've been down recently is, I think, pretty interesting. And that's sort of my point on New Orleans. Like New Orleans, I don't think could drop in a drastic way. If you just look at the replacement value, it's like, yes, it's expensive, and yes, the insurance is expensive, but you can't build the house. Like it can't drop. It just can't drop a lot, because it's below replacement costs. Yeah. People still need to live here, and it's why it's safer. Whereas Florida can go down more because it's gone up so much that it can drop, because it's not, for that person that bought it in 2020, it's not really down, right? Like, so just interesting, different.
Yeah.
Just maybe I'm sensing probably wrapping up, but I want to talk to me about, because I know, I think Florida's gonna be really good for you. I'm gonna miss you. But I do know that like your main mentor, Pete Fortunato's down there. You have other mentors and network down there. I know they do a lot of stuff. So I think you're going to thrive in that environment. Do you want to maybe just maybe talk like what that looks like?
So a lot of people are like, why are you leaving New Orleans? And so it's a fewfold. Yes, part of that has to do with some of the New Orleans economic outlook, right? And I'm going to get to the mentor part. Part of that is, and I kind of talked about this with Zuber, but but it's this idea of my portfolio, which I'm at, I think, 56 doors right now, between South Louisiana, South Mississippi. It's one of those things where it's a long-term position where you have your portfolio. And so there is a level that what I'm doing is I'm simply, I'm still going to be active in this market, but I'm choosing to place a second position and start building in another market, right? Yep. And so there's that part, right? And so there's that. But then my main mentor that I've gone, I've been to Florida 4 or 5 times already this year to go spend time with him. I normally travel 5+ times a year to go spend a week at a time with him. He's 78, he's gonna be 79 years this year. He goes to McDonald's every morning, except for Thursday mornings. And so I get to go, that's my...
Wait, explain, just explain what, I know what that means, but explain what that means. It sounds weird, he goes to McDonald's. So what?
He goes to McDonald's and talks real estate, right?
It's like a standing meeting, yeah?
It's like a standing meeting, and I can't tell you how many times I've been there and sat with him for a few hours and talked. He has been the #1 greatest influence on my investing career. I consider him the most creative deal maker in America, right? Yeah. Guy's brilliant. If you haven't, go watch already the podcast I did with him, with Peter Fortunato. The episode, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. I saw it as an opportunity for career development. We're not betting on being in Florida long term. So we don't know if we're just going to go for a few years, whatever. But I said, you know what? This is an opportunity to go be by my mentor, and go be by him while his market is doing something crazy right now. Mm-hmm. So just if all I did was buy a primary, or if all I did was rent while there for a few years and met with him, just about every morning for a few hours, and then I'd go back and do some business, right? I think that would be huge on my, he's really shaped my philosophy around real estate, but also my skill sets. I've done 9 deals with him. I'm looking to do more, so I can see that. But then the other part of that is they have an exchange meeting there, which we don't have one here. I tried to start one, but kind of too foreign of a concept. But it's an old school method of a meeting that all it is deal making. And they have one every Thursday morning. And so I think that's probably going to be one of the main things that's going to challenge me. Really, cash is discouraged there. And so it is really meant to be a place where you're looking to really trade.
Yep.
And so, like for example, we're going to keep a vehicle here, and then we have my vehicle there, and we want to have another vehicle there. And so one of my first goals is to trade for a vehicle to have a second vehicle up there. And it might be anything from a Vespa to a Tesla, I don't know. But the idea there is to trade for it. And so there's a level though that, I'm excited about those things. I've gotten to know the community there very well. There's a lot of real estate history in that area, both living and those who are no longer with us. A lot of great conferences happen there, stuff like that. So I'm excited for it. If anything, just career development in that sense, like growing my skills as an investor, while I still can, while Pete's still with us, but and some of the others in the area. So I'm looking forward with that. And then, I'll still be doing business here, and you and I will be collaborating on that, like we have before. And so then I think it'll also make me very intentional with what I'm still doing back here in New Orleans.
Awesome. Well, I think I can see what you're doing. I think it's going to be awesome for you and develop a lot. I think it'd be cool for people that follow you because they're going to also like get to hear you learning from these legends. Like Pete's a complete. If you don't know him, like I'm assuming people know him if they're following you, but he's a complete legend. So I think that's exciting. I'm glad you're not leaving the market. I'm definitely here and going to be your boots on the ground, and we're going to keep things moving. We still have rentals together as well here. So cool. All right.
So and I think it's important for me to emphasize, like, this is not giving up on New Orleans. And I think it's actually the wrong idea to give up on New Orleans. So let's kind of end with those kind of final thoughts. For anyone who's struggling in New Orleans right now, and for example, Courtney leaving might be like, I don't know, should I leave too? Like, what are your thoughts? Let's speak to the opportunity in New Orleans, and like to those who are, kind of in the. I mean, it's not easy right now investing in the city. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I'll quote Warren Buffett. Probably one of his most famous sayings is that you should be, greedy when everyone is fearful, and fearful when everyone's greedy. Does that right? No, sorry.
No, greedy when everyone else is
greedy. Yeah. So you want to be fearful when everyone's greedy, right? So everyone was really greedy in 21, 22 was like frothy. That was the time to be scared.
Yeah.
You probably weren't, because you get caught in that psychology, right?
Everyone was greedy when it came to the interest rates.
Yes.
Yeah, they're like, okay, let me do some refinances or something. Yeah.
Right now, everyone's scared. There's fear. Everyone's fearful right now. Now is the time to be greedy. Now is the time. Like, if you like were buying here and doing stuff here and you give up here, it's like your time to exit wrong on both times. Yes, buying in 22 was probably a mistake. You maybe overpaid. Maybe it wasn't a good deal, right? But like selling now or giving up on the market now is also the wrong mistake because I think it's the time to thrive, do some new good deals, be greedy, pay low though. Like using it's only.
Don't do marginal deals.
I think the market is good because it's bad. Don't get me wrong. It's still bad. The market is bad, but that is good because you can negotiate a deal well below market value. You negotiate that deal so it's nice and safe. And I think the bad doesn't need to be great. You don't need New Orleans. If you do deals in this market and get really good deals, you don't need the market to be great. You're not relying on it to boom like a Florida or California. You're just, relying on it just getting back to okay. But if you're buying at this level and it goes okay, that's actually a really good return. So I would hang in there. It has been tough. If you're hurting personally, I know a lot of good investors are hurt. So I'll just say that, like, don't feel bad. Ask for help. Yeah. It happens to lots of us. So don't feel bad, but don't give up. Don't give up.
No, I agree. None of us are immune to deals going wrong. But then there's also been opportunities for some of the best deals, right? I think, ultimately, I think people who are going to hurt the most are the ones who just have one property, right? Like, and because right now, in a lot of the hurting, what is helping is the others that are doing okay. If one's kind of struggling right now, the other ones are picking up the slack. So the portfolio is helping. And so that's why I think, folks would do well to have, for example, 5 rentals. Because if they just had one, and I know it takes time to get there, right? But like, it's that idea of they can support when one's struggling, the other one can support. I think getting around, like, the investor meetups are critical right now because you're getting around other investors who are doing it, and learning that, hey, it's not just me. But then it's also, hey, what are your thoughts on this? How can I overcome? I have this issue right now, something like that. But if you can just keep swimming right now, I think like if you can just keep swimming, you'll survive, right? So whatever you need to do, for example, if you're negative cash flow, well then you've got to do whatever you can to write that check each month, right? And because if you can keep holding on, the hope is it gets better. It's the folks who give up or are forced to for some reason, like for example, financing or something like that. You quoted Buffett, but something that I've been pondering a lot is Rothschild has a famous quote that's often misquoted. It's not fully quoted. He said that basically, when there's blood in the streets, like that's the opportunity, right? Like that's when you should buy, is when there's blood in the streets. But people leave out that he also said, and sometimes the blood is your own. And there's a level there that it's like reminder that like, yeah, you're hurting. There's a lot of people hurting right now. If there's a way that you could, whether that's pick up a side hustle to make up for the like, for example, the negative cash flow, or if you have to sell a property at a loss to make up for it, like if there's something you can do, but then basically take this time to also go get.
I like that. So just because the blood is yours, just because you're bleeding too, doesn't mean you can't take advantage of all the other. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, most people don't know that second part of it, and I think it's important to keep in mind because so many people think, oh, I would have in 2008 during the crash, I would have invested. Yeah, but you don't realize most people also were investors who were there during that time. There's no big flashing light that says now is when the clearance is happening. Like things are on sale. There's no big buy now if you must. Type of thing. There's never some clear indicator. It's usually always in hindsight, you're like, hey, that would have been the time to buy. And one of the big things, I know many investors who just, they kind of just survived through 08 and they didn't really take advantage of it and buy because they were so busy trying to survive.
Yeah, and they didn't take advantage. I like what you said about just keep swimming because like I like there's a saying that like no one ever drowned from falling in the water. You drown when you stop swimming. Like so just because you're in the water, like, just keep swimming. Like you just keep you're in the water already. Just keep swimming. And I'll probably just maybe also just for respect to Zuba, you want to sort of this set it off. So Zuba just talks about like one rental at a time, just one at a time. Like buy multiple, buy one at a time. Just know your buy box. And just always. The truth is, you should always be investing, good or bad. Like as a if you want to be a professional investor, you should always be buying. You should just be getting smart. It's an amateur investor that like the market needs to take them. It's like I'm going to buy at market value, and then I'm going to pick a market that's going to go up. Like that's an amateur investor. If you're a professional, doesn't matter you're not relying on the market value. You're making decisions. You're negotiating below market. You're creating value. You're unlocking equity, and that's what you should be doing. And you should be doing that now. And now's a good time to do that.
Yeah, and so I think that's critical. I think ultimately, I think there's a lot of investors who've gotten out of the game here in New Orleans. So to wrap this up, but I think that there are a lot of folks who this is when they're going to get some of the best deals of their life in this career, in their portfolio. So be careful of marginal deals, right? One rental at a time. You don't have to bite up more than you can chew. But I think this is a great time for an opportunity for it. And so I'm still very much buying in New Orleans. We're partnering on a lot of it. And so I think you guys, there's a great opportunity here. If folks want to get on your buyers list, you guys are selling a lot through Homebuyer Louisiana on wholesale deals. You're the largest wholesaler in the greater New Orleans area and the greater Baton Rouge. You guys just moved to South Mississippi to the coast. How can folks sign up for your buyers list?
Best to email us. If you email at deals@homebuyerlouisiana.com, deals@homebuyerlouisiana.com, or you can email me at steve@homebuyerlouisiana.com. But we're always looking to connect people with good deals.
And I think that guys get on his buyers list. I mean, frequently there's deals from South Shore, West Bank, East Bank, North Shore, and Baton Rouge, different areas. And then now with you guys going into South Mississippi, I think there's just going to be plenty of opportunity. So with that being said, guys, thanks for tuning in. Steve, thanks for turning the tables on me and interviewing me this time. So you guys heard it here. Yes, I am moving my primary to go be around my mentor. in St. Petersburg, Florida. But don't worry, literally, we're going and moving in August 1st, and I'm already flying back August 18th. So I am literally going to be here numerous times, plenty of times. So I'm looking forward to it. And you guys stay tuned. If you see a little bit of Florida content, now you won't be surprised because now you're in the know. Thanks, Steve.
Awesome. Cheers.